What do you think is going on with these low birth rates all over the world? Seems like pretty much all developed countries don't have a birth rate high enough to sustain their own population. And that seems very counterintuitive because as human beings, our main objectives are to survive and reproduce, right? So why aren't we reproducing? And it's a little confusing because when I was a kid, they always told us that the population was growing at this exponential rate, and pretty soon it was going to get so high that the planet wouldn't be able to sustain all those people. So we had to be really worried about populations increasing. But it seems like we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we got the other problem. The populations are decreasing. So why is it? It's a curious thing, right? Some people think it's something to do with the elites, like it's a big conspiracy, powerful people. Maybe they worship a death cult or something and they want to Thanos snap and have half of the world's population evaporate so that they can enjoy more of the resources of the world to themselves. I mean, maybe there's some big conspiracy where they implement a bunch of policies to put these pressures on people, I guess. But I have no way to know that. I'm not there in these secret meetings or whatever. I guess it could be fun to fantasize about and think, oh, maybe you can see behind the curtain. But since I have no way to know about that, it's just kind of a waste of effort to think about that sort of thing. So I got to think about other possible explanations. And by the way, usually conspiracies are really hard to hold together among huge groups of people. And if this thing is affecting like everyone in the whole world, it seems more reflective of some sort of like instinct or some sort of situation everybody's in more than like some intentional immoral actions from a handful of powerful people. So what else could it be? I feel like having kids it's a ton of work. And maybe people in developed countries just aren't up for it. You know, they see it's a lot of effort to get the kids to school and get all their needs met and pay for them and everything. And they're just thinking, they have a hard enough time taking care of their own lives. They don't want to jump into all of that. And in the past, you would kind of get trapped into a family. You just follow your body's natural instincts, and suddenly you find yourself with children, and that's your life now. You're kind of like held hostage in a way. But today, we have such good education about those things. We have tons of different prevention tactics you can use, the birth control pill and prophylactics and abortion, I guess. A lot of access to different things to allow you to express your decision that you're not ready for kids, you don't want kids. This pill that you get on as well, the women, it like represses your hormones, and your hormones are the main thing that drive you to have this desire to want to have the kids in the first place. So that could be a reason that women just don't want to have kids. The hard part's really getting the women started, because once you have your first kid and then they start to grow up, get a bit older, you think, oh, that was nice, but it's not a little cute baby anymore, so I want another one. So women often will have this strong desire, this urge to get another kid because the first one, it wasn't so bad, and now they know the ropes, they know what's going on, so they have a second one or a third one. But just the decision to start that first one, I think that's the hard part. And that's why nature sort of tricks us. It gets us to commit to that through the urges of our own bodies. But when you shut those urges down through the pill or whatever, then yeah, why would you ever even get started? So maybe that's part of why. People talk about the high cost of living. There's crazy costs for childcare, just for housing. If you got two parents, they like both have to work. But I'm not so sure that it's really the financial stuff, because different countries have had programs where they try to pay women to have kids, and it doesn't like move the needle at all. It doesn't seem to affect their decision at all. Maybe the amounts that these governments were offering were so small and trivial. They're going to give you a few $1,000s, and meanwhile it costs hundreds of thousands to raise a kid. So I can see why maybe it just wasn't enough. But I'm not so sure about that. I think these things, the decisions about whether to have children, it's a very deep and instinctual and human thing. And it's going to be hard to influence it just with a bit of surface level money dangled in front of people. I don't think they're quite so shallow and desperate that they're going to make massive life-altering decisions based on that small amount of money, really. So it's odd, right? Like what's going to happen in the future? Is there going to be a counterbalance? Is the opposite force going to emerge eventually and people will start having kids again? The place where there still is a high rate of birth is in Africa. Africa is a very poor continent, a lot of poor countries and people there. I've heard that the reason that they have a lot of children is because they're not so sure their children will survive. And because of that, they have more children in the hopes that some of them will survive. I don't know how true that is today in modern times. I think a lot of people in Africa are doing fine, it seems like. Most of them have smartphones, I think, even. So they can't really be that poor, right? I don't know. I don't know much about it. I've never been to Africa, but it's a strange thing. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's elites deciding we should not overcrowd the world? Do you think it's like these modern advances in technologies to prevent births and us being more in control of the decision? What do you think it is? It seems like kind of a big deal, like it's going to affect populations for a long time to come. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we kind of just roll with the punches. Whether there's more people or less people, we kind of deal with whatever happens. But this situation where we're not like forming families and having children, I think it's making people depressed. I feel like this is really like a blanket of misery on Western and developed nations, even Eastern nations like Japan and South Korea have very, very low birth rates. So what is it? And I think this not being in families is making people depressed and making them not have much to live for. And they're just thinking, well, my life isn't that great and I don't want to bring more people in. And they're just kind of putting around waiting for their demise. It's kind of sad. I think in the past, even though we struggled more, we had more of like a direction or a purpose or something. I'm not really sure. That's just some of my thoughts about it. So tell me what you think.